Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen. And, well, what has happened to the underreported $14 trillion in debt that the Bank of International Settlements found? As this article in Zero Hedge says, BIS finds global debt may be underreported by $14 trillion. And this is a huge story because, it just shows what these guys can get away with and how much vast debt is out there in the world, and how this is all placed on individual shoulders, how it disrupts the markets, how it manipulates the monetary system, and how it puts you all into poverty and debt servitude. John, can you go into this story?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of debt slushing around in the world, and this is what they're mentioning here is forex derivatives. That's like nothing compared to what the real number should be. The real number is probably more likely to be around 600 trillion to a quadrillion, depending on who you talk to. Some people even say 2 quadrillion right now, because there's a mass creation of debt that's slushing around in the world. And of course this is shadow money, as you can call it, the forex derivative debt, and there's so much more of it hiding in the cracks and crevices around the world, and as the tectonic monetary plates are moving, suddenly you get a lot of pressure, and all that monetary slush that have fallen into it is just going to erupt into the air, and we're going to have a monetary fallout where there's going to be not ash falling, it's going to be money falling everywhere around the world.
Well, John, I just have to quickly mention something that I find kind of ironic, because you hear the global establishment constantly call things like decentralized cryptocurrency dark criminal money. It's what criminals use to transfer things back and forth. First of all, 99% of money used in crime is fiat. Second of all, the very creation of fiat in the first place as legal tender is criminal by decree. It's literally a crime to enforce the will of the central banking system on the populace. So I just find it incredibly ironic that, oh, well, this Bitcoin, some criminals might be using it in places to hide from the government. And by criminals, they mostly mean, people who don't want to be extorted by the government and give them 60% of their paycheck. But in reality, the creation of fiat in the first place is criminal. It's just unbelievable, John.
Well, just to actually mention that, Josh, I had the honor of speaking at the first Bitcoin conference here in Winnipeg,
Canada,
in 2013. And at that place, there was a lot of people, and I was prepared for it. I was asking, is this criminal, is Bitcoin, going to be used by terrorists and these criminal organizations? Well, I pulled out the number actually on US dollars, since you mentioned, how much it could be. It was, I think it was 3.5 or 4 trillion dollars that are used in money laundering all around the world, and only 0.5% of that is actually getting caught by the American authorities. And that should just tell you something, that physical money, 0.5% are getting caught. Then the little fraction of now of course it's a lot bigger, with the market cap being 67 billion, but it's not even close to the 4 trillion mark that is actual money laundering happening around the world, slushing through these banks. Of course, it was recent, Danske Bank in Denmark was caught, a massive slush of money laundering coming through Eastern European countries into Denmark. So I just gotta laugh at these guys. Meanwhile, you have the just official debt to GDP in the world right now is 327%. 327%. That's insane. That's mentally insane. We have 3.27 times more debt in circulation than there's actually, production in the world. That should scare the crap out of everybody.
Well, I think I have a solution to all this, John. How about debt jubilee? Completely insolvent, government shuts down, banking system shuts down. We rebuild from scratch on a free market, free monetary level, competing currencies. Let individuals decide what they want to do with their life instead of extorting them and pushing them into debt servitude, ruling them with an iron fist, forcing them to be extorted into paying for crazy warmongering around the world, paying for crazy, expenses that aren't necessary, and let things go back to a voluntary basis based on intrinsic freedom rather than this artificial freedom enforced on us by the collective state and populace. We need to be able to declare this debt insolvent, just debt jubilee, and we need to be able to, if we want to make bad decisions, well, we can go and make bad decisions with our finances. But it's not up to the government or the banking system to enforce legal tender laws and make bad decisions on our part without us having a say in it. Because most of us, if 99% of people, if they actually understood the monetary system, they'd be against it. But 99.9% of people do not know anything about money, do not know what money is, do not know what the monetary system is. So instead, they are just, subservient, peasants, I guess you could say, lack of a better term, because they're apathetic because they don't understand, because it frightens them, it, intimidates them. They see all these big economic words, and they don't realize how simple it really is. And, people just make arguments instead when they don't understand it because they heard some guy on TV for, just a problem, reaction, solution, repeat kind of solution, which is that Hegelian dialectic perpetuating forever into eternity and forcing us into further debt servitude, because if you are forced down a bottomless pit of debt, you are forced to ask for a ladder up from the government and the banking system. John?
Well, let me just finish this off with one little tidbit, if you can call it, which is, of course, we're getting close to a war cycle, as I call it right now. We have a currency war. You are now seeing trade wars. And then, of course, after that, what comes after that? Well, it's hot wars. Mm-hmm. And that's the big warning here. And that's why we're talking about this needed debt jubilee before it's too late, before this insanity of, the lack of and the loss of value of currency makes these insane, government people going insane and then doing stuff. And then, of course, the banksters sit there and, are ready for, total enslavement of the populace as they, borrow money to each side, as they've done in any war throughout history.
Well, absolutely, and I cannot leave out what their long-term goal is, because they want to raise interest rates up in the United States, Canada, elsewhere. Want to raise it up so they can drop it out enough to save the terrible, decimated, destroyed economy based in, it's in the script. It's supposed to collapse by decree. But, they want to save it by pushing into, not just that, they want to rush into a centrally planned cashless society on a global basis. We see that in China, where debt is abundant, folks. We see that in India with a Aadhaar system, retina scans, cashless payments, demonetization. We see that in Australia, Sweden, Canada, places like Denmark. We see it in the United States to a large degree with M0 as well. And the point is, they want to push towards this cashless system, centrally planned, in order to
interest rates stealing from you.
Yeah, and it enslaves you to the banking system, because under those legal tender laws, you have to go through the bank for your money. You can never hold it in your hand. So as I so often say, if your money's in the bank, it's not yours, it's the bank's. And if it's always going through the banks via digital transactions, legal tender laws, and centralization, it's never yours, it's always the bank's, and you never own your money, and they track you everywhere, destroying any remnants of a free market and a free monetary system left in society, so they can further extort you, and you are nicely herded for the killing and for the slaughter. And this is exactly why we need to stand up against this, because they want to push towards this as soon as possible and implement it into the SDR, special drawing rights at the IMF, and they will get away with it if we don't understand what they are doing. And by the looks of it, the central banking system is in desperation mode on a global basis right now, and if it collapses before they get that cashless system in place, then they're in big trouble, and it provides an opportunity for us to stand up and finally say enough is enough, we are onto you, and we will not stand for it any longer.
Well, the central bankers have blown bubble in any assets around the world, and the bonds are in a massive, bubble right now as well, which is the biggest, danger here, which is going to create these wars, create everything that's going to happen because people get desperate and they're willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, the monetary system needs a war.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what the Keynesians are saying. They you know, of course, don't say directly that, you know, I sat through a PhD in economics, you know, talking to a whole massive crowd of people, where he said, you know, remember in the 30s, you know, what killed the Depression? He literally said, yeah, it was a war. Well, where are we at today? Like, we're looking at depression. What comes next? He said, what do we need next?
And we saw something similar in the 1910s as well. Surprise, surprise. In the 1970s as well. Surprise, surprise.
Oh.
Around the Korean War, around the Vietnam War.
Is there a cycle here, Josh?
I wonder. And it's almost like a 7-year cycle. I find it kind of interesting, though, because the fundamentals are off the table due to the level of manipulation in the monetary system. It's difficult to put a date on it anymore because it's so incredibly manipulated.
Well, with, you know, a fiat currency, usually the debt, as they start a new fiat currency and issue debt with it, the cycle is usually, like, the average is usually around 30 to 35 years. Now we're at 42 years, and we're so on borrowed time because there's so massive manipulation, and of course there's electronic currency slushing around, so nobody really sees how massive this inflationary bubble is that we created with all this debt around the world.
And as the stock markets are tanking, and as the monetary system is tanking, we also see a lot of evidence from the amount of people putting money into gold, putting money into silver, putting money into Bitcoin, Dash, etc. Cryptocurrencies that are decentralized, folks. There is a difference, and it's important. And we just see this massive rush, which shows the loss of faith in the monetary system, and with billions of dollars dumped from U.S. stocks in recent days.
Well, and U.S. debt that are getting sold off. That's the most important.
Absolutely. And currency swaps across the world. I mean, this is all coming full circle, folks. So I'm going to leave you with a quick solution that we always give in every video. Financial responsibility, self-sustainability, self-responsibility, independence, folks. Food, water, shelter, defense, sound money, cryptocurrency, diversify your portfolio. It's not a bad thing to be prepared, even if you're overly prepared. What's dangerous is not being prepared at all. And I guess we'll leave you with that.
Ask one of my friends that, you know, had to live through hyperinflation. He would tell you, he'd be mad if you said that, oh, you know, everything is fine and I'm not going to prepare for anything. He saw what happened, and he's told me some horrific stories, and he had to live through it for 5 years, and he lived, you know, to actually tell it, because a lot of people died.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, in all these situations, we always see vast amounts of poverty, debt, and death, and there's violent revolutions, etc., etc. And, you know, the most peaceful revolution that we can have is a voluntary, free market, free monetary revolution. If we just understand this information, we don't need to kill each other. We can get by peacefully, just understanding simple information and translating that information throughout the world, and making sure that people understand this very basic problem that is made complicated on purpose to confuse us and push us away. So thanks for going into this with us, John. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth.
Be the change.
Now to sound like an auctioneer. Thanks for watching, everyone. Check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so vastly demonetized and censored by YouTube as they bring in the Anti-Defamation League to flag all of our content as hate speech. Also check our Bitcoin address in the description in the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And don't forget to check me out at Josh Sigurdson at steemit.com. That's steemit.com, the future of social media, where you get paid via cryptocurrency, Steem that is, by the upvote and demand of your post. It's bound to take out the dinosaur social media, so I hope to see you there. But until next time, check out this word from our sponsor.
Are you looking to exchange a large amount of US dollars? Don't overpay with the bank on currency exchange. Think outside the bank. Banks charge unnecessary fees of up to 3%. Truth be told, currency exchange with the bank will cost you hundreds to thousands of dollars. Start saving now. Step 1. Register online. Visit our website and click Get Started. Step 2. Book a transaction. Phone us for a quote and to complete the transaction. We'll need to know which currencies you are converting and how much. Step 3. Transfer of funds. Once you confirm the transaction, we initiate an electronic funds transfer from the account that you choose. Your purchased funds are then transferred back to you in the account that you choose within 1 business day. It's that easy. Start saving hundreds of dollars on currency exchange with CBCE. Sign up online or give us a call today.